Hello and welcome to Massive Implications, the show where every 2 weeks we do a deep dive into a topic or question that of course brings with it massive implications to be dealt with. I'm your host, Joaquin Matthews, and with me as always is my good co-host.
I like to think so. My name is Jake.
The topic we're having today is what if Pangaea formed back together? Now, we actually have a bit of a special occasion here.
Yes, we do.
Our first guest.
We do. And this guest, of course, is your hit Potato Cast co-host, Jason, CatPoop66 on Twitter. How you doing?
Hello, I'm fantastic. I was really weird listening to Jokin do the intro because I'm so, my brain's just wired to whenever he goes, I'm Joe, my co-host, to me to be like, Jason Ellis.
I was also off-put because that is easily the weakest intro either of us have done so far for any of these 4 episodes.
It's on brand with the Potato Cast. We're fine.
It's pretty on brand.
Everybody has a bad day at the office. It's fine.
Yep.
And we are here today, of course, as Jokin mentioned, to talk about Pangaea. And the question, of course, is what if Earth went back to Pangaea, as per the thumbnail?
Yep.
I'm really excited for this one. This is a Joquin selected topic that he came up with, and he's hosting. Where do you want to take this?
Let's start off with the rules first.
Okay.
Let's start off with the circumstances. We're not talking they will push back together over thousands of years. That's boring.
That is what's going to happen, but
And
it's boring.
We're also not talking they go back together really fast, because then you'd have a humanity
tsunamis and shit.
humanity would die.
Yep. We're talking magic, in one instance, overnight, poof. All the things are just together.
No need to worry about earthquakes or...
Yep. We'll get there, but not via them coming back together, you know?
Right.
But yeah.
So I guess we start off with the obvious thing. Everybody is now in immediate range of each other.
Yep.
So how would you control borders?
Borders? Well, that's a tricky subject. I mean, I don't know if the current boundaries between countries would stay that way. I mean, throughout history, larger countries invade and supersede smaller countries to have more power. That's way easier if you're directly next to all the smaller countries, right?
Yeah.
Would the countries want to in this context? Would they want to more?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are some very power-hungry countries.
Sure. But there are today with them separated by water still.
Yeah, we are definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there'll be a big war at first?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Almost immediately.
What's your evidence for it?
Humanity.
Humanity
exists. Look at all the states we conquered, or what would become states, but look at all the land we conquered back then when we first came to America.
Yeah.
You know,
we
we basically took the whole landmass except for Canada.
We bought half of America, Louisiana Purchase for nothing almost.
Yeah.
And now it's one of the primary countries in the world. It's
but there was also the Spanish-American War where we basically just took over lands like Texas and what would become Florida, and it's just, but now it's not just America to worry about, it's other countries Eurasia, which is what it would be called, right?
Yep. It already is called that, but yeah.
Right, but yeah, that's just now so close to North America.
Yep.
That it's just a simple hop, skipping away.
Mm-hmm.
You could drive.
I know. It is so much easier to start a fight with someone if they're directly next to you.
Exactly.
Actually, for example, just scale it down a little bit. If 2 people get in an argument where they start genuinely upsetting each other and it's happening virtually, they would probably stop talking to each other. If that argument happened in the same room, there's a much higher chance an altercation could take place. So by that logic, my point is, do you know how much easier it would be for America and Europe to start a war when, like you're saying, they're 1 car ride away from each other? There's no need for long travel. It's not short travel, but it's shorter.
Much shorter.
Infinitely shorter. So yeah, in that sense, that would be evidence for a big war.
Right.
Do you have any evidence against one?
No.
No? Okay, I do.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Okay, so my evidence against it would be, technically speaking, the countries haven't changed. They've relocated and attached themselves to each other.
Yeah.
But nothing about Africa has changed. Nothing about South America has changed. Everybody's still the exact same place doing the same stuff, except the coastline people. They're kind of fucked. But we'll get there in a minute. Jason, do you think a big war is going to happen?
I think there will definitely be war, but I don't know if I would see a big European, say America. I see more so like another war on terrorism, kind of
Okay.
where there'd be terrorist attacks with like the borders being closed.
Right.
Because for the most part, America is, I mean, minus of course our northern and southern borders. As it is right now, we're kind of like an isolation state. Like on our east and west, there's just water.
Yep.
But with like us being connected now on both, well, I guess it would just be on the east side.
Right.
It just would make it so much like the Palestinians in Israel. But like that sort of dynamic of you can just be on the border and like throwing missiles and stuff like us, you know.
Yeah, that's a big that's a big thing. 2 points I want to bring up there. You know, how would you even begin to do border control? You would need 360-degree. Well, for America you wouldn't, but like some of these countries would now need like 360-degree border control. The ones that like had closed borders. And that's basically impossible. So I think if war doesn't break out, or if war is not that big, I honestly see a huge argument to be made for open borders. Maybe maybe even like a European Union where America joins.
Well, before you talk about the borders, I think that's another reason why I don't think there would be like a huge war per se, is because there's already like in Europe, tons of countries are already touching each other.
Right.
It's not like there's like a huge war always going on.
Right, but they're also like again, that's like the European Union,
right?
And
right.
look how much of a headache something like Brexit caused for the UK.
I was about to say, actually, look at the history of humanity. European countries have warred all the
well,
fucking time.
yeah. I just mean like I guess our current state and climate right now.
Right. Yeah. There is no World War II happening currently.
World War III.
That would be the big deal here if that were to happen. And I'm in the camp. I'm with Jokin. I'm leaning towards it. I'm not fully convinced one would happen right away, but I'm seeing more evidence for than against.
It makes it much more likely to happen down the road of World War III.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't necessarily think it would happen right away either.
One thing I think is really scary is there are kind of some nuke happy countries.
What countries?
Nuke happy countries.
Happy countries?
Happy countries.
Happy countries. Okay.
Some nuke happy countries. You know, your North Korea.
Nuke happy.
Yes.
I thought you were saying nuke happy, and then I thought you clarified new happy, and I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But you still said the K in the middle, so it's nuke happy, but then it's nuke happy.
Nuke happy.
Countries that endorse and like and have a lot of nukes, yes.
Right.
Okay,
you're North Korea. It's probably not the only reason, because then we would immediately retaliate, right?
How far would North Korea be from America? Let's look that up.
I think they're at the top of Eurasia.
Top of Eurasia? Oh, okay, all right.
So I think
they're still on almost the other side of the world from us, right? Because they're right near Japan, separated by the Sea of Japan, right?
I think they're still in. I think they're in range of everything.
If we're gonna collapse over the Atlantic, where the Pacific becomes the one big sea, then they're still as distant gets from America. I think.
You think so?
Because Japan would be on the opposite coast of the one big sea as like California.
And again, I feel like that doesn't change with Pangaea becoming a thing. We already are like nuke happy.
Right.
So the only thing I could see is like little conflict, perhaps like egging people on to like start using nukes. But as of right now, you know, we're in a scenario where nobody wants to use a nuke because it's just the end of the world, basically.
Oh, you know what else is crazy? I just said, oh yeah, they're separated by the little Sea of Japan. They wouldn't be. Japan would just be directly next to North Korea. They'd be one.
Yep.
And what you're talking about is very true. We're like world leaders who are clinically insane, like obviously the Kim Jongs, you know, who are just they almost waged a war on America over the movie The Interview, starring James Franco. Like that, people don't do that unless they're actually psychotic. So in that context, if everybody coalesced into one big landmass, I don't know. Think about like, let's say you're a germaphobe and you're living your life and not around people, you're fine. But if you're stuck in an elevator with like 3 other people and that elevator short stops and one of them coughs, like shit could go down. Like you'd lose your goddamn mind.
Right.
So add nukes to that equation. Oh my God, hell breaks loose.
I mean, that's a good point you bring up. Disease would probably spread much faster now, right?
Oh yeah.
Because like there's the reason why COVID spread is so fast is like airlines, but you know, remove airlines out of the equation and just have like being able to cough next door to your neighboring country.
There's really nothing stopping a virus from spreading really quick. Actually, there is one thing stopping it, and I want to talk about that in a minute when we get to like long-term Pangaea effects.
Okay.
But we're still talking about like the quick geopolitical crap right now. So, but yeah, you're right. COVID would become more likely, which is really scary.
Incredibly more likely.
Things like COVID are just
things like COVID.
Yeah. even with, you know, like, because now we have like mask wearing is an okay thing. It's a common thing now versus like nobody really wore masks unless you're a doctor prior to 2020, you know?
Right.
So there's things we can do, sure, to help, but this is so bad. So much shit would go down. What are, do you still, what are some other political implications here?
Political implications?
Because I have mostly geographic implications.
Well, I guess this would tie into it. Antarctica is now like land that people can take.
Antarctica would melt in the coming years.
Antarctica isn't just ice, though.
Yes.
It's not. It's landmass covered by ice.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm saying like the ice around it would melt down to normal land. And it's weird because like a lot of people are like, hey, you know, let's go to Mars. Let's colonize Mars. Let's go all different planets. But like Antarctica is on Earth and completely untouched, more or less, by humanity. And it's got water everywhere. It's so much safer than Mars. No one's trying to go to, let's go to Antarctica. They all want to go to another fucking planet. Like,
I was gonna say, yeah, well, the conditions in Antarctica are very difficult to live in. But I was like, but in Mars,
they're
you
much
can't
easier
breathe.
than Mars because you're surrounded by frozen water.
Yeah.
Versus nothing.
Versus, literally, you're not even able to breathe without support.
Right. There's air in Antarctica.
There's air in Antarctica.
It's thin, but it's there.
So, if Antarctica like melted, would we also lose land in Pangaea? Like, would be on the coastline?
I think the coastline would definitely again if Antarctica melts, I do think coastlines would slowly start to like go up. But that's kind of like a long-term effect, right? Like, I imagine Australia would become really nice to live in for a little bit. Because it's no longer super dry, right? You literally have Antarctica as like free air conditioning for all the residents of Australia, at least for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, on the topic of Antarctica melting, I retract my earlier statement of, I think we're going to go to war. I'm now in the 100% war camp. Because Antarctica now, after you
the
just
new
said
frontier,
that, Jason, it is a new landmass that is now habitable and no longer frozen after the coming years. And it's uncharted. No country really owns it. It's its own entity, and nobody really lives
Wild
there.
South.
Wild South. I guarantee you, every single country or part of Pangaea would flood down there to claim in war to get all the territory they can.
Probably.
That'd be hell, and that would be brand new. And it'd probably be the first time this is happening in hundreds, if not even longer, of years. Because what's the last bit of land conquered? It's been conquered a long time ago, right?
I imagine so.
Aside from like little islands in like Fiji that haven't been explored.
Yeah, but no one wants to live there.
Yeah, it's fucking an island.
That's not a large enough landmass.
Right.
But
Antarctica though?
Antarctica,
dude.
As cold as it is, it's not gonna stay that way. You probably want to put you want to be there.
You absolutely want to be there.
And I do think that a lot of, at least the countries around the area, they'll either try to be civil about it and do like, you know, your piece of the pie here, your piece of the pie there. Or they'll just be like, no, mine. And if humanity throughout the past billions of years has taught me anything, someone's gonna be like, no, mine. And it's gonna cause a headache, and at least that part of the world is gonna go to war.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Absolutely.
And with Antarctica changing, that brings up the climate in a couple of other areas.
Yep.
Real soon, maybe not real soon, but like maybe, I'm talking like maybe 100, 200 years, the middle of Pangaea is going to become unbearable. The water's basically going to dry up. It's going to be dry land because you're at the equator with no water.
Yeah, no, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, so everybody, I do think that people are going to start moving out from the middle of Pangaea. So countries, your Africas, right? You're gonna slowly see people start moving to the coast,
right?
Because that's basically the only like hospitable area that you have.
I completely agree. I think the center of Pangaea would be mostly deserts. Water would have difficulty finding its way to the center of the supercontinent. You'd see vast desert landscapes that go on forever. It'd be like a mini Mars, if you will. Life as we know it would migrate to the edges of Pangaea, like you're saying, where water collects and becomes abundant, where it's actually useful. And if humans want to set up a station similar to the proposed Mars habitats, where it's just a dome with a greenhouse where Matt Damon is growing potatoes in The Martian, they can do that. But it'd be a constant drain of time and resources where it's like, why would you?
Yeah,
Antarctica's right there, ready to be conquered, and you want to go in the middle of Pangaea? Yeah, all right.
I bet Antarctica under all that snow, probably really nice.
I bet you, like you're saying, the people in Africa would be void of most humans after being together with Pangaea, because it would be dead center, you're right, on the equator, the new equator, basically, with no water getting there. And there's lakes and rivers, sure, but they probably dry up.
Yeah.
There's no through narrative to the big open sea.
Unless there's like a huge project to like cut Pangaea in half.
No way.
Throw some
Dude,
water
the
in
Panama
there.
Canal took so much time and effort for like less than a centimeter on the average globe.
Mm-hmm.
So much resources and time to do that. And it still fucked up this year with that ship that didn't even fucking make. Yeah, there's no way we're cutting Pangaea in half successfully. There's no way.
Maybe not right now, but maybe in the future. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Do you think you'd do you see any prospect with the middle of Pangaea, or is it just desert hell?
I think it's animals would probably be able to thrive there.
I think so. What do you think, Jason? You think the middle is going to be useful at all?
I don't know. I think there could definitely be like subgroups of people that find like that can like prosper out there. But I don't think like large civilizations could probably last out there. I don't think you have to necessarily migrate to like the coasts, but like even a little bit like north and south. I mean, obviously America, we're not on the equator, we're above the equator. But you look like the middle of America is very habitable. Like you don't have to be right on the water, like on the ocean to survive. But yeah, like the dead center on the equator.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The equator stays almost in the same spot. It's not like the countries are like inverting, where like the top is the bottom, blah. Like it's all just kind of in the middle, coming together, So, but yeah, you're right. The equator would still be in that place, and it would have no access to water, more or less, except drying up lakes that'll not stay there. And then Antarctica, as we've mentioned, with the ice melting, that water's got to go somewhere. It's going to influx back into the world's ocean. Ocean singular. That's another point too. The ocean of the world. How do you guys feel about exploring the world's oceans when there's no landmass throughout to travel to or travel from? It's just straight ocean for half or more than half the world.
Right.
Do you think that oceanic exploring is going to continue to any real effect?
Maybe around like the coastline, because there's still areas around like the coastline that we haven't explored.
Right.
Because we can't go that far down. At least not yet.
So,
but the literal other half of the world, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Do not think so.
And then there'd be small things like that would kind of be taken out of the equation. Like there's still people that like search for like Atlantis. They're not doing that anymore.
Like, it's done with that shit. But I'll tell you what. Can
you have Atlantis without the Atlantic Ocean?
That's what it's called. It's the Atlantic off
Atlantic, sorry.
That's
not
why
Atlanta.
Well, I was just saying that because like that's why it's called that. So if it no longer exists, the idea of Atlantis, even if it were there, which nobody thinks it is, but if it were, it's gone now.
Hey, you know what? There's probably going to be a new Atlantis.
They probably make new.
When Antarctica melts, water's going to rise, and there's going to be some new Atlantis.
They call Antarctica Antarcticus or something like that.
Antarctic.
A subset of North Korea.
Right.
After they
like give it like 200 years, and Florida is going to be Floridus.
Floridus, yeah, and it's going to overtake the Caribbean islands because they'll be right next to each other.
Yep.
But the Caribbean islands will just be the Caribbean, and it'll be part of Florida and desert and boring and no longer fun. No one's going to want a vacation there anymore. So, yeah, no. Another consequence of Pangaea in terms of like the geopolitical problem is that a large portion of current flights would not make it. Like most flights currently in the air would find somewhere safe to land and the people might make it out okay. But imagine all the airlines that are suddenly now stranded over the one big sea. Like if there was a flight traveling from LA to Vegas, that's pretty close, and it's suddenly thousands of miles from any type of land, no shot they have enough fuel to circumnavigate.
It's almost kind of like, I don't want to bring this back to movies, but it's almost like the argument of like after like Endgame, where it's like, what about the people that are in the airplanes that like suddenly
right.
Yeah. The allegedly, according to the snap, like the way it's happening is that they would teleport in the airplane if the airplane's like landing.
Right.
So if it's just currently in the air, it'll just be like, hey, we're also on this plane
thank
again.
God Bruce thought of that.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna specify when I snap.
But that's a good point, because in this hypothetical, it's just a second and it's just all together, right?
It's all overnight.
So yeah, there would be flights probably in the air as this happens.
Yeah.
Flying from like California to Japan.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Dude, on topic, imagine all the transatlantic boats and barges shipping supplies and people. If that gap closed, they're just on land. That's not necessarily deadly, but it's probably not safe.
No, probably not.
They're kind of fucked. And people who live on any coastline facing the Atlantic might just die.
You know what? When thinking about this question, I didn't even think about like infrastructure. There's like cables under the ocean.
Yeah,
that's like fiber optic cables, and
Done.
that's how like those are gone. So like
now,
communications with the world is probably going to be halted for a little bit.
A little bit, but you got to remember the starting point and end point of those cables are now right next to each other. You just got to fix it. It's not like it's disappeared.
Well, on the Atlantic side, on the Pacific side.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Pacific, you're kind of fucked. It's funny because those would run like kind of to the halfway point of the Pacific, and then there's a big half the world gap, and then it resumes, and then there's land again. Like, that's so bad. How do you fix that?
You can't.
You can't, because you'd have to go to the endless ocean where there's no land and no resources except just salt water forever, and just, oh my God, that'd be so bad.
I wonder if like any species, like any fish species, will like start to like be on that side of the world.
They would have to
stay there.
Imagine, because there's a lot of like marine biology that's accustomed to the flow of the ocean of the Atlantic. Poof, they're either gone or in the Pacific.
Yep.
And now they're just gonna die out or adapt really quickly, which is possible. You know, fish have an easier time adapting than land mammals, sure, but it's not quick. It's still going to take a long time.
Well, I was going to bring this up like later on because I think this is much of a long-term like effect possibility. But how do you think it would affect like how quick evolution happens?
It wouldn't affect how quick it happens. It's more along the lines of we would not have a lot of biodiversity. Because like with Darwinian evolution, one species breaks off and locates themselves in separate areas where they hunt for separate types of food and separate environments and stuff. There's actually this pretty cool aspect of Pangaea having broken apart where we find the exact same dinosaur fossils on the coastline of South America and the coastline of Africa because they were once the same land. That's pretty cool. With Pangaea Part 2, species would no longer be separated, so you wouldn't have islands breaking off and those creatures and those islands evolving different traits. There are exceptions to everything, but like you'd have the same species in general doing the same shit in the same place.
And also think about like invasive species, you know. There's no like water masses keeping them from like
no.
Right. So everything's just gonna mix together. Like
that's actually one thing I said. I do think that human this is a really long-term effect, but like human races kind of will just disappear.
Right. They're gonna merge. Into this one I don't know, kind of Omni-Man almost, where they're very similar because there's no longer separate entities. Now, where you live in Pangaea might affect your race over a long period of time. Sure, because towards hotter climates, your skin darkens. Colder climates, your skin whitens, generally. But as no one can live in the desert, and the coastlines are all more or less the same, except the equator ones, you know.
And also, we were talking about wars, about like political, like big countries or like terrorism. What about like race wars?
Oh my God.
Like you take the racist people in Florida, they're suddenly like right near like Africa, like the top, like the northern coast of
Jason
Africa.
lives in Florida, so he has that cultural understanding.
Right.
But yeah, he's actually here in person with us in Massachusetts today. Yay. Woo-hoo.
Woo! Glad to have him.
But yeah, like down south, it's like pretty close to the north part of Africa now. Like
yeah, more or less.
Look at
Florida...
all the people in Texas complaining about like, you know, people immigrating.
Yep,
exactly.
Like, right now, that's happening. Imagine people in Florida again having to worry about Africa.
I think that the initiative to like remember like
when I say having to worry, I mean,
know
like,
what you mean.
Their worries are not well placed whatsoever. I'm just saying.
And like think about not to get political, but like when Donald Trump was in office, he was trying to build a wall between U.S. and Mexico. The concept of a wall to differentiate your country is not a bad concept. Nothing wrong with it. In Pangaea, I think walls would be built nonstop. I think people would just be building them walls all the time, all around their little perimeters.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I think we're gonna have open borders. I think for the sake of humanity being able to thrive, we need to have some form of an open border. I think if you put walls up, first of all, how do you manage an entire wall? You can't, right?
Well, you got people to work on it, you know? People of your country who go around the
wall.
No,
I mean, like, who's going to patrol it?
Well, people who live in the country.
How many people would it take to patrol a wall covering, going from, like, the top of the U.S., east, and then south?
Okay, I
How
understand.
How many people would it take to control a wall like that?
Oh, all right.
You absolutely could not.
Okay, so here's the thing. What you're saying is to an effect true, but I still think countries would do it. I still think almost every country would immediately wall themselves off from others.
Would hope, for the sake of humanity, that we wouldn't completely wall off each other.
I think most will, and I think that thinking they won't is very rose-colored glasses. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like
I don't
that's
know.
ideal, sure. because, people getting together and kumbaya is great. But, like, I don't, like, in sudden Pangaea where everyone's like, holy shit, we're all next to each other. Yeah, I think we're going to be, like, terrified. Like the germaphobe in the elevator around people, like, sick people. The metaphor there is, of course, like a racist guy who doesn't like other country people, and they're like all next to each other now. There's no more water; it's just people around you.
Yep.
It's like build up the wall. I'm scared. And then to an effect, those cultures might be the same way. Build up the wall. I'm scared. So
we talked about it earlier a little bit about like the long-term effect. I said like if we are still here, we're probably just going to become like one giant race. What if we're not still here? One big thing, like China's air quality is so terrible because while like the factories there, in America's air quality is like slowly getting worse because of like all the fires that's happening and like again all the factories. Climate change is a big thing.
It's our favorite thing to do is just build factories.
Now imagine like the acceleration of climate change when everything is basically right next to each other. The insane levels of heat that's going to be generated from that and like smoke. I think the air quality is going to be like absolutely abysmal
towards the center of Pangaea. But that's why people would probably break off towards the coastline, so it kind of gets out. You get some fresh air coming in. It wouldn't be great. It'd still be shit like you're talking about.
Pretty bad.
It'd be pretty bad, but I think it's still equal out to be comparable to now because it's not like, well, I was gonna say it's not like you gained more land. You did with Antarctica. So in that sense, I agree with you. You'll build more factories there.
Well, you gain more land, but you also lose the land from the center.
Right. That's a good point, too.
Is Antarctica big enough to make up for...
To compensate? I think it's bigger. It's one of the biggest... Is it not the biggest continent?
I mean, according to this... I'm looking at a picture right now. It looks about the same size as, like, North America.
I think it's larger than most. If not all.
Definitely not like larger than Africa. And again, Africa is just like absolutely screwed. Like you are moving.
Yep.
The opposite problem of like the coast like sinking you up. You're moving for having no coast.
That is an excellent point. People on the coast, I want to get to them in a minute, but I mean, I don't know. Like, look so around the Pacific is what's called the Ring of Fire. For those of you who don't know, the Ring of Fire is a song by Johnny Cash, but also a collection of volcanic hotspots along the perimeter of the Pacific Ocean. All the coastlines of Africa and Europe, all of the coastlines of North and South America are these massive hellhole volcanoes that are there right now in the real world. If that gap closed instantaneously, those hotspots would coalesce into this massive scar on Earth's surface where the worst possible thing would emerge. Like this bizarre combination of
Godzilla.
Yeah, you got the freaking tallest mountains in the entire world, strings of volcanoes, valleys that dip down forever because the subduction and all that shit. And land mashing in and through itself, like the largest earthquake fault line in the world, yada yada, like hell. Geographic hell straight down the center of Pangaea. Yeah, that's something that people don't really think about. That will exist because it'll be instant. It's not like it's going to fade, maybe over a long time.
Maybe, but
it's there now, so it's just going to poof together. Yeah, no, that's going to be really bad. So, like, if you're living, I don't know, on the coast or near the coast of South America, Pangaea happens. Yeah, sure, you're probably still near the other half of South America where there's water, but you're not going to live where you're living now.
No.
Because it's like Pompeii Part 2. Like, get the fuck out of there.
Absolutely.
It's going to be so bad.
It is. It's going to be terrible.
It's going to be terrible. I think it's going to be terrible. I think a lot, like most of our examples for some reason, a lot of people die. Every episode so far, we have mass people just dying. Immortality, except that one, I guess. Technically, you can't. But animals gaining sentience, the red pill, people just dying left and right. This one is one of the worst ones.
Oh, absolutely.
It's second worst. Animals being smart was the worst one, probably. But this is pretty bad.
Animals being smart if there's not a civil way of going around it.
I don't think there is.
I don't think there is either.
Nature is eat or be eaten. There's no way around it.
So.
But, yeah, Jason, how do you feel about the big old scar on Earth down the center of Pangaea?
How far up does it go? Would we be fucked where we are?
Let's look up the Ring of Fire. I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling up an image.
We're on that coast.
Okay, so because this is an audio medium, I'm going to verbally describe it. The Ring of Fire kind of starts basically like if the highest most point is the bottom of Alaska, it carries down through Japan, through all this shit, through the Caribbean islands, around Australia, and then it goes down the other way, down from Alaska, down the Californian coast, down the South American coast that's facing the Atlantic. So it's this big horseshoe-looking thing over every coastline touching the Pacific. Hotspot volcanoes. Japan infamously has a lot of volcanic islands and stuff. So yeah, if that closed, oh my god.
But would that close if it's on the Pacific? Because isn't it in the Atlantic where we're coming together?
Oh wait, that is an excellent point. So would that mean the Ring of Fire would actually
Be in the middle of the ocean,
Like
or-
it'd be a new prime meridian going around the globe instead of coming together?
I don't know.
Okay, so if the Atlantic closed, which is what we're talking about, I think I
Right.
fucked this up. I think the Ring of Fire would go around the world in the long way and be like a barrier from us in the ocean.
Oh my god.
Big ocean.
That'd be terrible. You can't go to the ocean.
Horrifying.
You are stuck on land.
Oh my
You
god,
cannot
we're
get
stuck
to the
on
water.
land. Okay, so
We're gonna burn alive.
so we have to go to the coastlines to survive, but on every single coastline facing the big ocean is just hell.
Well,
You have to get out of it.
if the volcanoes opened up, would it create new land though?
Not much. Not much.
Not fast enough.
Not
anyway.
fast. Not much. Not fast enough. I think
Mhm.
Joquin's got it. Because when the continents come together instantly, there'd be like lakes and rivers that would
Mhm.
new form, but they'd evaporate towards the
Pretty
center.
much.
And
Yeah.
towards the end, where the ocean is, where the other half of the world, where it's just ocean. Oh my god, just hell.
I could see. I mean, it might be difficult to like imagine this nowadays because we have so much information at our hand with the internet and whatnot.
Right.
But I could see like super far down the line, people trying to like almost like a new Atlantis. Like there's something in the middle of the ocean that we got to get to, but we can't get around the volcanoes.
You're right. There'd be new myths formed.
Yeah.
There'd be new cultures and like
Yep.
people inventing stories and folklore and stuff. There'd be new everything.
Oh, you know what?
What?
We said earlier that like trying to go to the ocean on the other side of the world would be like a fool's.
Yep.
Like you would be a fool to try.
Mhm.
We completely forgot about space.
What do you mean?
You could go up into space, wait for the Earth to rotate, and then go back down.
I mean, what's
With
similar...
space travel getting so advanced.
No,
so-
because that's still more complicated than taking a flight.
yeah, but the flight you won't have enough gas.
Well, no, you would fly from one end of Pangaea to the other over the land part.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able
No,
to go
I'm
over the,
saying if
water.
you want to like explore the ocean on the
Explore
other
like
side.
the middle of the big
Right.
ocean. Oh,
Get
well,
around the volcanoes, drop
couldn't-
down into the water.
you can't
Yep.
go there though. You'd have to
Yeah.
just orbit above it and be like, "That's cool," and then just quickly pass it.
No, you could go there. You just wouldn't be able to do much.
You
unless
die.
you-
What do you mean? Can't do much.
You
can't
bring
live.
you bring a raft.
You bring one raft to the middle of the fucking big ocean
You
of
bring
Earth.
a big raft.
A real big raft. Yeah, right.
Real big raft.
Yes, okay. Hypothetically, you
Hypothetically.
could set up a raft civilization that would be in danger of dying at all times.
And then you use like a satellite, and that's how you communicate with the rest of humanity.
I-
And then you try to build from there.
it's like the world's shittiest island, artificial island that's just buoyant and
But
made
you
of
would
like
you would
air.
you would keep building it.
You'd have to try.
You would have to, right?
You ever see Moonraker, the James Bond movie?
No, I haven't.
No, not Moonraker. What's the good one with Roger Moore? Oh my God, I'm losing the name of it.
Didn't you do a Bonthon last year?
We did, but there's a lot, and they're mixing together. And Roger Moore did the most, and I don't know why he did because he's really old. What the hell am I thinking of? The Spy Who Loved Me. The villain of The Spy Who Loved Me
Uh-huh.
was a man who wanted to create an underwater civilization that lived in domes, and his plan was to I think it was to destroy the normal world, so people would be forced to go into his dome world, which is kind of weird. But the problem with that movie is that where would you possibly get the funding and infrastructure to do any of that? No, like Elon Musk and freaking Donald Trump and Bill Gates all teaming up together couldn't pull off a quarter of that shit.
It's simple.
There's no way.
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
Just buy
Oh my
Dogecoin.
God. He
Well,
solved it.
Even if you're the most rich ever, which you still wouldn't be able to do it, but even still, money weren't a factor. I'd say resources are a factor. How could you maintain that? You're talking about maintaining a wall. You're like, that's not going to happen. Maintain a freaking dome civilization.
No, I don't think a dome civilization could I don't think it could happen yet. Maybe
I don't know if it'll happen ever.
I don't know. I mean,
Jason, you think we're going to go dome civilization?
you start small, right?
The thing is, I mean, in terms of the money, like getting funding for it would be terrible, but like the resource thing, I mean, we're trying to colonize Mars, and if we're
Right.
if we're able to accomplish that, I think we could probably accomplish like colonizing like a dome
In the
city and
ocean.
having
It's so
and
weird.
having
It's so-
resources and
it's-
like making like resources down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, that's super far in the future.
I mean,
don't
nothing's
know.
stopping us from doing that now. We still have
True.
oceans and
Mhm.
resources.
And we haven't really explored the oceans as much as we could. There
This
might
is-
be
yeah.
something down there that might help us with the domes.
Atlantis.
Or maybe there are already domes.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, I made the criticism earlier of why don't we just try and go to Antarctica, which is safer and easier than Mars, and it's also on this planet with air around it. already. Like it's infinitely easier, but you don't see anybody trying to go there. I think I looked it up because I googled Antarctica to find out the size, but the most people that would be in Antarctica at a time, it's yearly at cycles, but the most is 5,000. That's fucking nothing.
That's a continent.
Not even. That's the entire continent, because nobody can live there unless you try. But yet we want to try and go to Mars because it's cool, I guess. I don't know. But in any case, it's a similar argument for underwater. If you want to live in dome worlds or a really big raft in Joe Quinn's new land.
Really big raft,
big raft. Maybe get there via satellite somehow. If you want to live there, I mean, the thing is, you're constantly using resources to keep that environment afloat and alive and not dying, you know? It's not like you just leave it. Like an island can just stay that way because it's just a hunk of land.
That's why you turn the raft into a makeshift island.
It's not connected to the bottom of the ocean. And it wouldn't be, because it'd be so far down you'd have to go to connect it to the bottom of the ocean.
Listen. I think it's a viable strategy. Matt Damon, all right?
Don't you pick up the Martian
Matt
for the
Damon,
ocean.
he grew those potatoes.
He did grow those potatoes.
On Mars.
In a different environment than the ocean.
Exactly.
That doesn't help connect the island to the ocean. None of it makes sense.
It'll make sense.
In short, I really think that this is one of the most deadly, destructive things that'll upset but a lot of our civilization. But this will upset so much of our civilization, and I mean our as in like all of humanity's civilization. Like every single country's fucked by this. Not necessarily fucked, but they have to adjust to a new world.
Right.
Like there's so much about, you're right, infrastructure, about what they have to do to adapt and change everything, that like there's short-term consequences up the wazoo, is what I'm saying.
Can either of you think of any like positives that would stand out from this? Like anything that, like, I'm thinking maybe like technological innovation could happen faster or something like that, but I just don't. That's like a very vague like positive.
I don't think technology innovation would happen faster. If anything, it would happen slower, because we have to figure out what the fuck just happened with Pangaea going on.
I still like, I'm dwelling on this. I don't think I have any, because I'm trying to think like what problems exist now only because we're not all part of the same continent. Right. Maybe traveling would be easier. Maybe.
And it's only certain aspects of
travel. Why would you want to travel anymore?
Well, you got to visit the other countries that are walling themselves up really quickly before they wall them up. I don't know. I mean, I've always wanted to visit Paris. I haven't. It'd be way closer.
You could walk.
I could walk or drive there instead of flying.
Actually, wouldn't you? You would probably be able to walk, right?
You could walk anywhere at any point. It'd just take a really long time.
I know, but like, wouldn't Massachusetts be relatively close to Paris?
I mean, define close. Like compared to everything else.
Compared to now, it's close.
But
it's much closer than it
still
was.
Far, you know. It's not like you can like.
You could drive to Paris in like maybe a week.
I'm looking up a model of Pangaea. Oh, okay. So, you know, the kind of Europe-Paris area would be conglomerated with Canada. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be the same as taking a drive to Canada, like the middle of Canada, maybe.
There we go.
So, you know, it's better than the Atlantic, sure.
Like it's probably as like comparable as like saying, oh, you can walk to Toronto. You know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, Australia,
want to.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but based on the models of Pangaea, Australia is at the bottom. It's actually under Antarctica.
Yes, it is.
So Australia would become the coldest continent.
Like I said, for short term, Antarctica. I don't know.
Australia or Antarctica?
Australia. I tried to combine the two.
Sure.
Australia would have like a really nice climate, and it would have like built-in air conditioning.
Built-in air conditioning for, I'd say, maybe 100 years, and then just freeze.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the tip of Australia, the bottom tip, would be probably susceptible to being frozen over because it's very close to the bottom pole of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Antarctica, a lot of it would melt. India, which is just chilling in Antarctica, basically, is kind of funny. It's just kind of there. Their culture and climate would change. Africa stays mostly the same. South America stays kind of the same. North America, I think we're the most same of all of the countries because we're just in the same spot, basically.
We're just rotated a little.
Rotated. And Eurasia ascended. Like, I think the top half of Eurasia, which is funny, it's already really cold in, like, you know, Siberia.
Right.
1 million years gulag. There's already the top half of Russia just being fucking frozen. They would go further towards the North Pole when they conglomerate. So most of Eurasia, I think that people would migrate down. Antarctica would be the Wild West of new place to go to, but there's so many places that would just be void of people now, especially the middle.
Wouldn't be able to close your borders, dude.
You'd have to try. People would try because they're racist.
I don't think people would try, but I think it's a futile. It's a failing matter.
Jason, how's your faith in humanity? Do you think everyone's going to be very not racist or very racist?
Oh, it's gonna be a shithole. It's gonna be. Like we can barely like coexist now.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be.
Yeah, it's been a miracle that we've been able to.
And it could be a thing where like very very far down the line somehow we coexist. Like we just out of necessity. Because like there's isn't anything dividing us, like we have to if we're all touching, but it also just might not end up. It might just be the end of humanity at the same time too.
I'm in the end of everything camp. The way I see this happening is like someone agitates North Korea, nukes go off, and
right,
like,
but
we send nukes back, nukes get sent all around the world.
Right, but like you got to remember, we've had world wars where there hasn't been a Pangaea. You know,
Okay.
Shit's gone down.
We've had world wars where there hasn't been nukes yet.
So that was a big deal in World War II, the invention of the nuke and stuff like that.
It wasn't a nuke. It wasn't on any scale of what a nuke can do.
Sure, but like you know, we've warfared with nukes. We've done some Hiroshimas, you know, in our time. So you got to figure that like there would be countries that would, and there would be countries that wouldn't. So like, yeah, North Korea would go to war with Japan next door because they're adjacent.
Well,
now.
if you're talking everybody's gonna try to put up walls, they would instantly try to like start building nukes, right?
Everyone, yeah, they put up walls, they put up nukes, and if you can't build the wall in time, you got yourself a war.
Yep. Again, they have the ability to make nukes, though. People already, if they have the ability to, they're gonna try to eventually. Like already.
That's true. They would immediately try.
True.
Well, but then again, if you didn't have the ability, you would quickly find the ability. You would quickly go
or you have a better chance of doing it.
If you live in like, I don't know, Madagascar, which is just in the middle of Africa now, if you just conglomerated, you'd be like, dude, we need some nukes now. Go get them. And then it'd be like this ultimate Cold War. Like a worldwide Cold War.
Yeah, where it's just like we're all scared of something happening.
We're all scared of something else happening. Like that would be, oh my God. The Cold War, historically, was just two countries, basically.
Yep.
Imagine that. Every continent in a Cold War.
Dude. So I think that's a good place to end it off. We either all die or we're all scared of dying.
Just like the rest of history.
Yep. So and to wrap things up, we're going to hear what you guys have to say.
That's
As
right.
always, leave a comment below with your opinions and takeaways from today's topic, and it'll be responded onto the very next episode.
Right. And 2 weeks ago, we posted, "Should you take the red pill?" And we have plenty of comments from that episode. How do you not?
So Jake,
Yes.
it was your episode, and you're more well versed in Matrix
Lore
topics than I am.
Sure.
So why don't you handle these comments?
You want me to read them off?
Also, a lot of them are, the Lingard. So
my boy, the Lingard.
Hey, I love him. I love him. He's sending us comments. So
he is. He's helping the show. Again, guys, if it's not clear enough, every single comment that has on any video for our channel, they all help. They all help the metrics and the algorithms of YouTube and whatever. That all helps the video circulate. So if you want to support the show, we're not big enough for donations, but just comment. Share your thoughts and opinions in today's episode.
Yeah, even if like you're making fun of Jokin's voice, it still helps.
Yeah, do it.
We do it constantly.
I implore you to make fun of my voice.
Exactly. You can't go wrong. So yeah, let me go ahead and open up the comments on this video, if I could, briefly. All right, here we go. So yeah, the Lingard commented more than once. First, he said, "Thank you for addressing my questions." Well, thank you for asking them in the first place. We really appreciate them, Lingard. I'm gonna go through all of his comments first because he has like 3. He said, several heart emojis, and then the red pill. I want to look like Jake's dad. Just kidding. That's a reference. I know what that is. That is a reference to a video where when Neo woke up from the Matrix, Ian said he looked like his dad because his dad had like no hair, and Ian was like, Neo was like bald with no eyebrows and stuff. That's a deep pull, and I'm glad I got it. It was Ian's dad, clarification, Lingard, but it's just a stupid joke in a video, so
Yeah, I thought he was just trying to be like.
I don't think. No, he doesn't know my dad.
Okay, all right, okay.
He said, "I believe the blue pill, like Jake said, both talk about going on a journey home or a journey forward. The problem is I have no context on what I will see if I move forward, and the people important that I would leave behind. I would go home and RMB this pill incident, but continue to live my normal life, which had nothing wrong. Thanks for asking." So he said red pill. Just kidding.
Yeah, he said it as a joke, and
so
then
he's really
he
on your
changed it
side, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he's on my side.
You bastard.
For context, Jason, because you haven't seen the show. No, nothing wrong with that.
There is something wrong with that. Watch our shows.
I will start watching them. It's just I purposely didn't watch any of this because I knew I was going to be on an episode.
Gotcha.
So you better to watch.
Going blind. Yeah.
So
I wanted to know nothing.
I argue that the blue pill would be the better option, basically because you wouldn't, if you take it, you wouldn't remember having taken the blue pill, and you live life as normal. And Jake is like, no, I want to do cool action shit.
And I want to know the truth, but that too.
Okay.
Cool action shit. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, to finish up Lingard's comment, he said, thanks for asking. I shall see your next hot quality content video next. Well, if you're listening to it now, that means you already have. It was Age of Extinction. Oh my God, what a film. He also says, for a third comment and final, for a question, if you were jacked out of the Matrix, who in the crew would you want to be and why? That's for Joquin. Sorry for not addressing you in the first place. Heart emoji.
All right. If obviously if I get to pick anybody I want to be in the crew, I'd obviously pick Neo, right?
That's true. Why wouldn't you?
Why would I not pick Neo?
Let's take Neo off the table. Who'd you pick?
Oh, Morpheus.
Morpheus?
Yeah, of course.
That's true. He's pretty cool.
He's basically the second best one.
Yeah, you got a good point. He kicked Neo's ass in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I think I'd probably pick the same. I'd pick probably Morpheus or Dozer because I have a soft spot for him. But this one's for me. If you were jacked out of the Matrix and you know the truth, can you also save people who are trapped in there? If so, why did Neo free more people than have a bigger army? I'm assuming he meant why didn't Neo have a bigger army?
Right.
Well, Lingard, appreciate the comment as per usual. I don't know if Neo freeing more people would matter much because Neo already is basically like super duper Jesus. There's a scene in the second one, and Joquin hasn't seen the second one. Have you seen the Matrix trilogy, Jason?
I have seen them. I watched them like 1 week just in succession, and there's many details I just cannot recant to you because in one you're kind of out. When you were bringing up the which character would you be, I was like, I can only name Neo and Morpheus. I know there's the girl. I know there's other characters. I just can't name.
No, that was my first time watching the Matrix, and that's why I didn't watch the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
But then we watched it again before we did the episode.
It is a spectacularly funny scene in the sequel. It's supposed to be serious, but I find it funny. Ian loves this scene to death. It is a scene where Neo encounters Agent Smith, who has copied himself hundreds of times, and Agent Smith's all of them coalesce in this open field, like a playground almost,
like a courtyard kind of,
and they all fight him at the same time, and it's 1v100.
Yep.
Neo is just whooping Smith. Smiths are whooping him back. It's an epic 10-minute. It's called the Burly Brawl. Find it on YouTube. It's really good.
I think I've seen it.
You probably have seen it.
The
CGI is mostly great. And then there's some really cartoony, funny stuff. So, based on that scene, the reason why I bring it up is that what the hell does Neo need more people for? He's whooping Smiths left and right. You know what I mean? He's getting them. And if you've seen the whole trilogy, you know that, well, Neo really didn't need those people in the end. He struggled. Maybe it'd be slightly easier.
There's that, and also by me only watching the first movie, I picked up that the reason why Neo took the pill is because he wasn't happy with his current life.
Right.
You have to convince people that aren't happy with their current lives that there's something more beyond this without being like, hey, so we're if you go around and be like, hey, so we're in the Matrix and it's this big thing and you should escape it.
Yep.
People are just going to think you're insane and fucking leave you.
Yep. There is a segment in the Animatrix. I just watched it for the first time recently, actually, because I had never watched the Animatrix, actually. It's a collection of animated tie-in stories to the Matrix world. One of them is about a kid. He's actually just called The Kid. And he is very creative. And he's in school, and he's like, man, I'm fed up with my life. I hate my life. Everything's bad, and this world isn't real. He's the same kind of mentality as Neo, where it's something's wrong. I don't know what it is.
Right.
And he starts to be pursued by agents in the school, and he runs and runs in the school, runs to the roof. Agents corner him on the roof, and he closes his eyes, and he's like, whatever happens, I know there's something else to this. And he jumps off the roof willingly. And the final scene is him waking up on the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar, and you hear Neo's voice saying, I've never seen someone jack themselves out of the Matrix before. It's a self-auto thing. That was almost unheard of.
Right.
So there's people that would do it anyway. That's really interesting to me for context of that. It's not necessarily a choice where it's you have to convince them. You're right, Joquin. People would know automatically something's wrong with the world, and that's why you'd get posed the question in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah, that wraps up all 3 Lingard's questions. Thank you again, Lingard. Appreciate the comments.
I'm
excited to hear.
I love you.
Yeah, Joquin specifically loves you. I also would send.
You've always been my favorite, Lingard.
Jason is very well acquainted with you. Not at all. And yeah, we really appreciate it. Can't wait to hear what you comment this week for Pangaea's episode. and we're excited to read them off. On to the other comments. Our next comments come from someone named Castiel Wong. He commented 2 similar comments. I'm going to assume he meant to comment just one of them and deleted the other one.
Yeah.
So I'll read the most recent of the 2. What do you think of Matrix 4 coming out? Since besides The Matrix, you guys kind of hated the rest of the Wachowski movies. Now, he means you guys, meaning me and my co-host on Hot Quality Content.
Right.
You haven't really seen a lot of the Wachowski, unless you have. I don't think you have.
I've seen Speed Racer.
Just Speed Racer. Okay, good. The most popular one on our Hot Quality Content channel. Yeah. What do I think of The Matrix 4 coming out? Well, I'll tell you. It is still my most anticipated movie of the year. It is a direct sequel. But you've seen
Space Jam.
I have seen Space Jam: A New Legacy.
It's coming out this year.
It is coming out this year, December. Well, it's funny. It was half shot before COVID, then it was fully shot after COVID. So there's a lot of crazy shit that could be happening in this movie depending on how they do it.
Right.
And it's been in the works for a while. It was at one point delayed to 2022 and then pulled back up to 2021 because it was basically done. And it's just in post right now. And it's like, why would we just sit on this movie for another year, you know? So I'm so hilariously excited for this. You got Lana Wachowski, one of the directors of the original Matrix, coming back. And the reason why I'm so jazzed, besides it being a sequel to The Matrix, the best movie ever made, of course, is because, yes, you're right. The Wachowskis have made some pretty bad movies after The Matrix, arguably some of the worst ever. But in pure curiosity, I watched their non-movie content, which is, of course, their television work.
Mm-hmm.
They've done 2 things since Jupiter Ascending, which is really funny. They've done Sense8, which is a Netflix show about people who connect their thoughts across the world, and they live in persecution and stuff like that. And a show called Work in Progress, which is like a comedy. And what happened was the first season they both did, but after the first season, during the second season, just Lana Wachowski did the rest of Sense8, and then Lily Wachowski did Work in Progress. No issue or anything like that. They just wanted to do their own separate creative projects.
Right.
Work in Progress I was not a fan of. I found it really boring and grating. Sense8 is on my top 10 shows of all time.
Ooh, great.
So that right there to me says like, oh my God, you have that Wachowski doing Matrix 4? I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. I'm sold. So to answer your question, Castiel, I think I've been too long-winded about this. I'm hilariously excited for Matrix 4. Joe Quinn, are you excited to watch 2 and 3 for the first time to watch 4?
No. Well, I do it anyway.
You're
going to make me.
If you want to watch 4,
I
I'm not
want
gonna let you
to, as soon as you're done with 3, I want you to call me after
It's going to be 4 a.m.
I want you to try to explain to me what that... You'll understand when you watch it, but what that guy was talking about, okay?
Oh, you mean part 2.
Is it in part 2?
The white suit man with a beard who's just the architect explaining.
That's in part 2?
It's one of the worst parts of any movie, Joe Quinn.
Oh, God.
It's
God.
this 10-minute exposition dump.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
But it's not clear exposition.
It's very confusing exposition.
Oh,
you have to get a notepad out to solve what he's talking about. It's so bad.
That's how you make a movie right there.
It's pushing boundaries of what you can do with cinema.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that got a very bad score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so hopefully there's none of that shit in Matrix 4, but we'll find out, won't we?
We will.
Of course, the last comment comes from someone named Mibnoob, which is, I am waiting if Mud and Ian will join the channel. I love them. Reply by Lingard. Yeah, me too. Now, I don't think they're going to join the channel.
Geez. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, first of all, Joe Quinn's right here. I think he's an amazing host. But also, yeah, Ian and Mud, I haven't invited them on yet. I'm assuming down the line we probably will.
Yeah.
We already have a Potato Cast co-host coming in for episode 4, so we're probably going to bring in our boys, make it a big extravaganza. Maybe we'll do a Crisis on Infinite podcasts with Potato Cast, Massive Implications, and also the Hot Quality Content boys. Get them all together in a room and screw around. That sounds really fun. So, yeah, eventually down the line they'll be on, but not long term. This is Joel Quinn and I's thing. That's why the 2 halves are our 2 heads with our 2 hairstyles. Mm-hmm. I worked a long time on Photoshop and Illustrator with that one, but yeah. And that'll wrap up our comments.
Yeah.
So if you want to leave a comment next week for us to respond to, Jason won't be here, but Joe Quinn and I will.
Yep.
And we're more than happy to read it. And again, support the channel, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. And if you really want to get your topics on, just comment. And as long as it's not, racist or stupid, we reserve veto power if it's a bad comment, but just a normal comment and we'll respond to it within reason, So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With that, we're going to wrap up the episode, aren't we?
Yeah. Jason, as our first guest, would you like to plug yourself?
Yes.
The classic Potato Cast special.
Yes. I'm currently on Twitter, Instagram, it's at catpoop66. I've been saying for like a year. It might change by the next. Well, not by. I won't be on the next one of this, but it might change by the time you go to click it. I don't know if you guys put links in the description, but if you do, the link is in the description for whatever it is now. But it probably is still catpoop66.
You're gonna change it like 2 years down the line. We're gonna have to remember to change.
And also, if you want to check out the Potato Cast, if you like Joe Quinn, he has another show that you can also tune in to watch as well.
Yep. The origin of you guys doing a thing at all on podcast form would be the Potato Cast. It's a pretty fun variety show.
Yeah,
I've been on it twice.
Tune in every 3 months and you'll find a new episode.
3 months to 1 month
Just
to 1 year.
on that audio.
Yeah. Yeah, wait, Jason, you're supposed to send us
I could have sworn that I already did it, but
nope.
I'll do it.
We're never going to get that episode up.
Anyways, and I have a link tree in the description.
Yep.
Find me on everywhere I am, including the Potato Cast. Check it out. Great. And Jake?
Yeah, I also have at CakeJamara at all social media that I'm aware of and care about. And of course, hot quality content, youtube.com/hot quality content. If you're listening to this, we're either at or almost at 1,000 subscribers, which monetizes us. And we can start doing so many more cool things if we have income to the channel to do so. And we're really excited about it. So head on over there, even though you're probably a fan of us already coming over to this channel. But if you're not familiar with our content, youtube.com/hot quality content.
It's hot and quality.
It's hot and it's quality. And also, it's content.
That's true.
So check us out if you're interested. So see you guys in 2 weeks, next Wednesday, for episode 5, which would be my topic. And I'm really excited to jump right into it again.
Okay.
See you next time.
See ya.